Middle Wallop Army Air Base, spring 1999. As the rest of the camp gets on with business as usual, the Blue Eagles helicopter display team are preparing for the hectic season ahead. They'll be making 25 appearances in 4 countries, wowing crowds as they put their aircraft through their paces and meet members of the public as representatives of the Army Air Corps. The story of aircraft in the British Armed Forces starts in April 1912, when after recognising the importance of the aeroplane as an observation platform, the War Office formed the Royal Flying Corps. The First World War saw the aeroplane expand its role from an observational vehicle to its use as a fighter and bomber. And by the end of the war, the RFC and the newly formed Royal Naval Air Service boasted a combined and diverse force of over 20,000 aircraft. With the importance of military aircraft proven, the 2 existing services were disbanded, and the Royal Air Force formed in 1918. The present-day Army Air Corps was brought into existence in 1957, with the amalgamation of several specialist regiments formed during World War II. The first Blue Eagles display team operated between 1968 and 1974 and flew the Augusta Belle Sioux. The present-day team was reformed in the early 80s, now flying the Army Air Corps' new standard aircraft, the Gazelle AH-1. In 1993, the Blue Eagles added a Westland Lynx and became the first mixed aircraft helicopter display team in the world. The Westland Gazelle AH-1 is built in association with Aerospatiale in France, and with its higher performance replaced the aging Alouette. It's a multi-role utility 5-seater helicopter for 1 or 2 pilots. The single engine is a 592 shaft horsepower Turbomeca Aster-Zoo turboshaft type that is capable of a cruise speed of 164 miles per hour and a range of 416 miles. It became operational in 1972 and has since served in variants with more than a dozen armed forces all over the world. The Westland Lynx first became operational as the Army Lynx AH-1 in May 1977. The Lynx is a tactical helicopter with a multi-role purpose for transport utility, electronic warfare, anti-armor attack, search and rescue, multi-sensor reconnaissance, armed escort and command missions. It has a crew of 2 pilots and is capable of carrying up to 10 persons. The 2 Rolls-Royce GEM 41 free turbine turboshaft engines are capable of delivering 1120 shaft horsepower. This enables the Lynx to reach a maximum speed of 200 miles per hour and a cruise speed of 161 miles per hour. The rigid rotor enables this helicopter to perform the unique aerobatics. Initially, the Lynx could roll at 100 degrees per second, and the backflip is a maneuver that would be very useful in combat and one that only the Lynx can perform.
Welcome everyone to the team brief for the year. It's going to be 2 parts. We're just going through a year's brief of a few points we need to get hoisted away at the start. And then
the pilots and crew are all volunteers from various squadrons of the Army Air Corps and must fit their display commitments around their regular duties. Team manager this year is Mark Curry,
Don't break
Now,
them,
in his
obviously.
third year
We're
with the
not,
Eagles,
talking
he
about normal
moves out
flying,
of the
this is
cockpit
display flying.
and into the
All I'll say
office.
to you is, you know how much sleep you need. Well, hopefully I've seen it from both sides, having been a display pilot for 2 years and now the manager. The idea of that really is because, or so the manager's got an idea of what's going on inside the cockpit. Not only that, but he knows the frustrations of the pilots, what they require and what they're not interested in, what they don't need to know about, so they can keep their minds on what they're about. So hopefully, with my previous experience, I've managed to keep a lot of the administration and niff-naff and trivia away from the guys, which they don't need to know about, so they can concentrate on what they're actually trying to achieve, which is obviously a good display. All regulations to be adhered to, not only the flying, but the driving as well, and the engineering, okay? So the number one thing is safety, okay? We want to be safe at all times. Well, we don't actually lay down a specific amount of flying hours to be a team member, although all the guys on the team have got in excess of 2,000 hours. Probably most have got 3, if not more, 1,000 hours than that. So we don't actually put a specific number on. What we do say, though, is that they must be able to fly to the required standard. And because of that, obviously, we're looking at guys with a few years' experience. But there's no actual, you must have been flying for 4 years or a fixed date, or indeed a fixed amount of hours. So what we're looking for is someone who can be a good team member and has the necessary flying skills to be able to perform to the required standard in the air. Most of all, the selection takes place obviously prior to the season, as early as possible, and it's the final decision is made by the chief flying instructor, Colonel Wilson. Obviously, he's in consultation with the team leader and the team manager. The ultimate decision would be vested with the commandant of the School of Army Aviation. Okay, so I would say on average, most people usually do, on average it would be 2 years. This is my 3rd year, it's Sean's 2nd year, Paul's 2nd year, and the rest of the guys it's their 1st year.
Last year I was Eagle 3, which basically, because of my job here, I was quite busy at the time, and my job was to turn up and display. And this year, because I was a permanent member of staff here, continuing with the team for a 2nd year, it was decided that I would be team lead this year, which I'm very privileged to have the honour to do that.
I joined the team in March. I was selected back in December, and we came down the 1st of March, and we finished at the end of October.
This will be my 2nd season with the team. I did the last season, which I found thoroughly enjoyable. I didn't think I was going to go around and get it done this season, but the opportunity arose and I took it with both hands. I enjoyed it.
Well, I joined the Army Air Corps. I was in the artillery originally until '91, and in '90 I was on Salisbury Plain on exercise, saw a couple of gazelles go past. I was sat in a dirty, wet, horrible, cold trench and thought, yeah, I want to be doing that. And when I originally joined the Army, I wanted to go into the Army Air Corps anyway, but was persuaded by somebody sat behind a desk to go into artillery. I had a great time there, but flying is what I wanted originally, and that's why I transferred in. Well, I actually started flying in '91.
I joined the Army Air Corps because as far as I can remember, or for as far back as I can remember, I always wanted to be in the Army. I wanted to run around with guns and be a soldier, chasing tanks. My dad suggested I drive tanks. I went to Selection Centre when I was still at school, watching a few of the videos for the different corps and arms of the Army. And in one of them there was a helicopter in the background, and I thought, I quite fancy going helicopter. And ever since then I decided I wanted to be in the Army Air Corps and become a pilot, and that's why I'm here.
Well, initially I didn't plan on joining the Army Air Corps. I joined the Army to drive a tank, surprisingly, with the Royal Armoured Corps. And it was just one of those things. I was sat on an exercise one day, cold, wet and miserable, and this helicopter turned up, and I thought, yeah, I'd love to have a go at that. And the good thing about the Army Air Corps is they give the opportunity for lowly soldiers to fly.
I probably put my first uniform on when I was 13 because I was in the Air Cadets, and going through from there I was going off to cadet camps on RAF camps and going to the local air shows and things like that. So I got very interested in aviation then. But I knew that there wouldn't really be a career in flying for me in the RAF because I didn't have the academic skills. So I started off in the Army Air Corps because I knew you could start off as ground crew and then progress through and become an aircrew observer, which I did for 4 years, and then on to a pilot. So I could actually achieve my aim without necessarily having to have the academic skills.
It's Monday, the 10th of May, and the Blue Eagles are just 6 days away from their first public display of the season. Any mistakes or problems with the display routine must be ironed out this week, and the display passed by both Army Air Corps safety officers and Commanding Officer Colonel Thursby if the team are to perform in public. Team leader Sean Wyatt holds a briefing to go over this season's display sequence.
Right, now we haven't been together for a couple of days, so what I'm going to do now, well, I know we can't fly it, but I'm going to brief it and then we're going to dirt dive it as well. All right, so that we've got the display fresh in our minds and we've at least gone through it today, and then we'll brief it, dirt dive it and fly it again tomorrow.
The dirt dive is a walk-through rehearsal which the team performs prior to any display. Repeating this over and over again will help the team to remember each manoeuvre and, more importantly, in which order it comes in the display.
Completion of the manoeuvre, run out 170 or the run out heading for the day, wherever it is we're displaying. Right, and then we'll reform the Vic, ready for landing.
Normally the team are together for approximately 2 months before the display, and during that 2 months we have a dedicated week solid of practicing. At the end of that, that's when the display clearance is performed in front of the Commandant. On top of that, during those 2 months, either early in the morning when the airfield's inactive, or post flying, i.e. after 5 o'clock in the evening when the airfield's inactive, then we can get usually half an hour or an hour in at those times as well. And that's usually done probably 3 times a week during the normal working week, so it's quite a big commitment for guys who are actually working during the normal hours of the day as well. Generally the airshow circuit, as it's known, starts in the middle of May and goes on until basically the second week of September. We usually get a couple of shows outside of that, not really normal punters' air shows as it were, more trade fairs, for instance Helitech down at Red Hill. We're doing that this year, which is outside of the normal airshow circuit, but that's a sort of fairly unique event itself.
No, I'll come down here again. I'm not logging that long.
Yeah. Take a seat with you.
Life in the team is hard work, but the pace doesn't slow when they get time off.
When we do get a weekend off, I go and see my girlfriend occasionally, and my hobbies really, I skydive as well for the Silver Eagles, which is the Army Air Corps freefall parachute team. And myself and a couple of other guys on the team are motorcyclists as well. Sean, team leader's a good friend of mine, has been for a long time. We've been motorcycling together quite a lot, so tend to try and get out and blow off steam that way really. Hey up. How you doing?
I just like getting out on the open road. Not obviously going too quick on the open road, but also doing the odd track day where you are let loose a little bit more speed on the tracks, a little bit more adrenaline, a bit like a display really.
Well, I've had a motorbike continuously since I was about 14 years old, but that was a trials bike, an off-road bike. Road riding for about the last 6 years continuously.
Joined the Army when I was 16, so I had a reasonable pay packet coming in from then, so been able to sort of, as my ranks increase the sort of value of the bike, as it were.
Well, you've got to be ahead of the bike all the time, the same as you have been flying. You've got to be ahead of the aircraft, and the more you look ahead, the more you plan ahead, the faster you can go, and the safer you'll be. So the thought process is being ahead of the game all the time.
The main similarities, I'd say, between riding and flying occur when you're low-flying in a helicopter. A low-flying helicopter presents the same sort of problems of things happening quickly, needing to keep your wits about you, lots of hazards present themselves, and you need to make split-second decisions to avoid those hazards. The same on the bike when you're riding relatively fast, shall we say.
Concentration levels one that springs to mind, obviously. Although I have to say, I probably think that riding a bike involves a higher level of concentration over a longer period than flying. On a display, you're only working for 12 minutes. On a bike, you tend to go riding for a couple of hours, so you've got the obvious difference there. And also, in an aircraft, I think the margin for error is larger than it is on a bike. Obviously, you're in contact with the road all the time, and there's far more hazards on the ground than there are in the air. So similarities are there, and in fact I think bikes probably have to have your wits about you probably a little bit more than an aircraft, to be perfectly honest.
Early morning on Friday the 14th of May, and the technical crew prepare the aircraft for a very important day. With the team's first public appearance of the season scheduled for the North Weald Air Show in 2 days' time, the pilots prepare for the round of scrutineering as they perform their display for the Air Corps safety officers. The job of the safety officers are to ensure not just the safety of the team and their aircraft, but also that of the public.
Running heading is 350. Transition, go. Right on, go. Cross of the brake, go. Prepare, go.
Having viewed the display from the ground, a safety officer takes Staff Sergeant Jez Bainan's place in the Lynx, and the team must display again.
How did that go? Second one wasn't too good. You can do better than that.
Okay, 2 displays. First one without anybody else in the aircraft, and I think the first one went quite well. The only 2 debrief points were, somebody remind me?
2 late in on the triangle.
Oh yeah, 2 was late in at the top.
Sorry, overshot.
Overshot, okay. But I think you overshot because you were late in, I think. Now, to go to the second one, to jump ahead a little bit, I actually slowed down quite a lot to get in there. The problem with slowing down to get in there is that you're not quite settled enough to do the 90 down. So you've just got to climb harder and just try and get in there a little bit quicker. Yeah, I know you are. You just got to take that into account and roll on a little bit more angle of bank in the climb and use a bit more power to start off with. The major debrief point is towards the end. Now Bob's gone because he's got to go and fly with his student, but I've already talked to him, and just so everybody's aware of what happened. 2 and 4 pull up for their sliding turn. Turn go. 3 and lead turn up to do a pedal turn. Okay, and we all end up running back in again. I don't have a problem now picking 2 up. Do you have a problem picking 4 up?
I was in on him straight away on that second one. We were in position.
Right. The way I see this, or what went wrong here, is we actually missed Jez. Right? So it didn't go right, mate, because you weren't there. The reason it didn't go right is because Jez briefed Bob as to the position of these aircraft so that Bob can time his acceleration. All right? Flying with somebody that hasn't been briefed on that, okay, he didn't get the calls. Hence, he was accelerating fairly slowly, and Bob actually picked these 2 guys up, all right, which he normally doesn't. So he then started to accelerate, which is too late. That's the reason that went wrong. With Jez calling it, as we saw on the first one this morning, the Lynx gets ahead. Now, to jump back to the first one this morning, I don't think we were in at 1 rotor. However, we were evenly matched like that. So the only major debrief point is that one at the end, and we'll leave that for now, because I'm not going to change anything, because it's worked on most of them up until now, and as we've been going on, obviously it's worked better. And the one this morning worked when you were in the seat. It didn't work when we took you out and put somebody else in, all right, just for the clearance. However, standards are happy, and they've cleared us for the display. So that is the display for this season. Jez, anything from the ground that you saw?
No, actually I thought from an insider looking at it from the outside for a change, I thought it was actually looking very good. The only one that's already been brought up was the slight disparity in the bunting really. But apart from that, I thought it looked very good. And the crossover was absolutely perfect, smack on the line this time. So, yeah.
Who does that then?
It's me and Paz. Me and Paz, 3 and 4 today.
Right, that, gentlemen, remember, is only half of the clearance that you require. That was the safety clearance. So from aviation standards point of view, that display is safe from a separation point of view, from an aircraft handling point of view. What we've now got to do is get the Commandant's approval this afternoon from a presentational point of view. I don't see any problems with that, but this afternoon we will do it again with smoke.
Well, while I'm here at Wallop, I'm only flying the Gazelle. I'm not current on 2 types, although in the field army, I was a Lynx pilot. Lynx is a very nice aircraft to fly. Between the 2, if it's operational, then I'd prefer to fly the Lynx.
There's a lot more systems in the Lynx, lots more that can actually go wrong. The Gazelle's very, very reliable. The Lynx has a few problems with the complex systems. I actually prefer the Lynx, and I'd have been very keen to get in the Lynx this year. Having said that, I do quite enjoy flying the Gazelle. The formation flying that we do is good fun, so I'm enjoying both.
Some people will hate me for this one. I used to be a Lynx man, but I actually prefer flying the Gazelle. What you feel with the aircraft is what you get. So you put any inputs in, it's you and the aircraft, whereas the Lynx has a computer to go through whilst flying. You do anything with this aircraft, it is you and that aircraft, and that is it.
I enjoy both types, but I'm more at ease with the Gazelle because I've flown it for many years. I know the aircraft inside out. I know how far I can go with the aircraft.
the Gazelle has been likened to a sports car, and it is fast, it's manoeuvrable, the visibility outside it is very good, and for display wise, the visibility makes it a better display aircraft.
I love the Lynx, and I always enjoy flying the Lynx, and it's such an agile machine with its rigid rotor system. And so if you're a display pilot, if I had a choice of the two, then again I am biased, I'd definitely love to fly the mighty Lynx.
I went straight onto Lynx from my pilot's course, which I was happy to do and I asked for. But if they're short on pilots on Lynx, then they'll select someone from the Gazelle fleet to train them.
As team lead, it's up to me to train the team up on the individual manoeuvres and also do the choreography for the display. And not really until you go and fly it do you know whether it's going to work properly. I work all this out on an A4 piece of paper at home at night, doing pencil drawings. Until you get out there and you actually fly the aircraft, the timing's not quite what you thought it was going to be. And through the training period, the display has been changed a number of times. And all the time, I've been worried about, this isn't going to work, that's not going to work, are we going to finish it at the right place, at the right time, etc.
One stage we do a 360 wing over, followed by a 270 wing over, and as I'm coming out of my 360 wing over, the other aircraft that Paz flies is in the middle of a 270 wing over, and the first time we practiced that, I was pulling out of my wing over, which is almost a loop. I was pulling out of that at about 300 feet, and I looked up and I could see Paz diving down towards me.
We were very close, and I think he was quite surprised to see me in that position as I was diving down at him, and he just looked up to me and went, whoops.
It's his responsibility to miss me, and I'm pleased to say he did. And that was the first experience I had of how close we actually get to each other, but there's no real confliction. The first experience of that was, oh, I can't see this working, but it does, and it works well.
When you look at the angles, we were both diverging, although inside the cockpit it really looks as though you're coming together, but looking from the side, an angle of 90 degrees, we're actually diverging away. So that took quite some time to get our confidence up and be comfortable with the actual manoeuvre itself.
For the aircraft to continue performing faultlessly throughout the season, a dedicated team of engineers accompany the Blue Eagles to all of their shows.
It's very difficult to say how long it takes to prepare an aircraft for doing the display, because the aircraft are taken from amongst the aircraft there is in this hangar. Every weekend it will not necessarily mean the same aircraft goes. Because of the hour servicing system, we have to pick an aircraft that's got hours available to be able to go away for the weekend and come back without needing any big servicing done on it. As a team, we do interact with one another. We sort of, two heads are better than one when it comes to a problem, which gets the problem sorted out a lot quicker. Small problems occur. Shall we say a landing lamp fails, we will change the landing lamp on site.
Having been passed by the Air Standards safety officers, the team must now perform their display for Colonel Thursby, Base Commandant, who has the final say as to whether the team will be allowed to display for the public on Sunday.
Well, obviously, first of all, we look for safety, because we don't want to kill anybody. And secondly, these aircraft are worth several £1 million, and therefore we don't want to have them spearing into the ground. So, of course, safety is paramount. After that is aesthetics, how it looks left and right, and balance. And then at the end of the day, how it will fit into a large air display, because we are, competing is the wrong word, but we are alongside the Red Arrows, the Petit de France, or whatever, at major international air displays. And therefore, one has to visualize it on a large airfield, unlike Middle Wallop, which is relatively small. And there are certain things that when they do the drop-off and the links to the backflip, it's not quite right at the moment. And I think that the easier way is actually the Gazelles brake and then the links of the backflip. Because at the moment, as the links brake as the Gazelles brake and the links does its backflip, there is you can actually see, if he doesn't get it quite right, you can see whether he errs towards one gazelle or another.
Yeah,
if he does
if they're out of the way.
If they're out of the way, you can't tell the difference.
It's harder to see.
Yeah. Well, we'll be looking for centralised crossovers. A crossover should ideally be at the centre of crowd. It is very difficult to achieve, as all display teams will tell you. And of course, with the helicopters, unlike the fixed-wing chaps, helicopters have less power to catch up and do the crossovers right. As the only helicopter display team extant now in the world, one could argue we don't have much competition, but that said, we endeavour to be as good as the best, if not better. Right. Well, I reckon we stand, is this crowd centre here? I think this year's boys have done bloody well, actually.
Given the weather.
Yeah, yeah. And their earlier performances were impressive. Very impressive.
Eagles, the running heading is 350. Transition, go.
Right, clock's going. Right, so they're now on running heading now. Yeah. 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 It's nice and tight. Good lights too. Nice lights those. All the right angle. Yeah, spot on. Good to see. That's better. That's better. Yeah, that's much better. It's better than the left. Yeah, much better. Yeah, that's improved a lot. Yeah, no, he's not too bad at all. Next ball is smoke on go. Is that a thunderstorm?
Yeah, I just wondered about this CV that's coming free. Are you ready to go straight for another go, or do you want to leave it for a while?
Have you got time?
Quickly this is closing.
Colonel Thursby would like to see the display again, but the weather is taking a turn for the worse.
Can they manage? Can they do the initial arrival with smoke and then bin it?
Ask them where the wind is, please.
Sorry, can you get me a wind check? It looks as though it's from the cloud, looking at the windsock, so it's moving towards us.
Well, it's actually the wind, giving surface wind at 240.
Yeah, you can see the wind there, look. That's certainly not 240, that's about 3-1.
Yeah, but we're not right next to a thunderstorm.
I know.
Not teaching this
At this time of the season, one should
happy with that as a
absolutely.
display
No, very nice and very ambitious, but it's worked well. Particularly the final that final gather at the end was very good news. And how much has got smoke on the?
The final manoeuvre and the opening manoeuvre.
Right.
So right up until the three aircraft join together in the triangle,
Yeah.
smoke is on.
Right.
And then for that final manoeuvre where you see them climbing
Yeah.
to reach
Yeah.
on, smoke is on the whole time.
Right. Right.
It's the day before the display, and the team are preparing for the journey to North Weald. Jez Bainan briefs them on the flight route.
Okay, formation brief for the Blue Eagles deployment to North Weald. Start off with standard Mate brief. The Met general situation: got a slack northeasterly flow. There's a cold front situated at the estuary of the Thames, going to the northwest up to the Pennines. We're going out from Wallop, up towards Andover, going through the gap between Harewood Forest and Andover itself, and then going out on heading of 080 direct for Basingstoke. Basingstoke, I'm going to go on to the standard route in to get us to the north of Odeon, which is shut today, Farnborough, which is open, and then through the danger areas at Pirbright.
You actually drive that route, Jess?
Well, it's a route I'm used to.
He knows the junctions. He knows the junctions.
Yeah, that's right, absolutely.
You got a map pack made, have you? Got a map, yeah. What, 3's on Victor now? 3, autocraft landing clear. And autocraft to uniform 1 and check in. Engines, good.
As the team prepare to land, they receive an emergency order to clear the runway for a light aircraft, which is having problems in flight and must land immediately. The team react quickly, and both the Blue Eagles and the light aircraft land safely.
Right, looking at the debrief, first transit we've done, no problems at all. On the, I mean, it's busy coming to here, and I mean, obviously we weren't going to get the fly past done. That's how I envisaged it during an airfield day. It was all complicated by the fact that somebody put a pan call out, so we had to give them priority. Sorry? Do you want to get this one or? No, there's room in here, we'll just stay together. Thanks. It's my job.
It's Sunday, the 16th of May, and the day of the team's first public display is here at last. At the Blue Eagles caravan, the ground crew now meet the public as representatives of the Army Air Corps.
It's like a little brochure. If you read it, okay, and on the back you have to sign it, and once you signed it, you then join the Army Air Corps.
I know, we've been trying to persuade him actually.
Really?
Yeah.
Here you go. Would you like one? You want to read it? Take it away and read it. We go to all the shows. Obviously the ones overseas we don't drive to, we fly to. Apart from that, we take the caravan and trailer and go everywhere the air crew go. And as you can see, we talk to the public and try and recruit a lot of people. Hey, we need some women in the army.
She wants to be a pilot.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, we've only got about four or five women flying at the moment.
Oh, well, there you are.
They're all qualified now. You enjoy it?
Good, yeah.
Think about it.
Thank you for that.
Okay. Sort of middle-aged teenagers who are interested, they come up and talk to us. As we're not an actual recruiting wagon, we can only advise them and then pass them on to the various departments.
Come on, more waving, ladies and gentlemen. Wave back. Now look at this. Mike brings the aeroplane back, and we've got the swivelling rig this year on top of the utterly butterly barnstorming aeroplane. So, as the aeroplane flies by. Smoke on. The engine's actually flying anywhere in the world now. Unlike the Pratt & Whitneys that the Americans used, lots and lots of those around. So this is something you are not going to hear every day, and a sight you'll not see anywhere else in the world.
Meanwhile, the technical crew prepare the aircraft for flight.
Well, today we've got here rather early to get the aircraft ready for the display this afternoon. We accidentally let a smoke off today, so we know they work, but they're ready to go now, aren't they?
As the display time draws nearer, the team try to relax.
Ready to go?
Well, Paul's done the season before, so it's brand new to me, sort of thing, you know. So the first run through yesterday was quite nervy. My Lynx hold is actually in the middle of a village, which is quite a laugh. So we're having to sort of move things around because hovering next to a pub ain't a good idea, really. But yeah, looking forward to this afternoon. It should be good fun.
It's not just a question of having done it before. Again, flying in first thing yesterday, it was the nerves appeared. The old butterflies are in the stomach because it's somewhere new. You are displaying to people rather than the hypercritical guys back at Wallop. Yeah, it's looking forward now. It's the season's just about to start, and looking forward to doing our first display in front of the public.
The Eagles, however, have a tough act to follow.
I'm not jealous. I want to be a Spitfire driver. You just can't compete with the Spitfire though, can you?
No, never.
Oh, it doesn't matter.
I'm the tail aircraft in the diamond formation of 4, and initially I wasn't too keen on getting in close there with a Gazelle, one rotor in front of me and one either side, left and right. And initially it took a while to get me in close enough, and now I actually quite enjoy that position or that formation. The 360 wing over can be quite difficult as well, depending on the wind.
The double bunt, which is the two gazelles pull up from the left, crowd left. They pull up into a 90 degrees nose up attitude. When all the speed washes off, they then push the aircraft forward into a 90 degrees nose attitude down. So that's going from 90 degrees nose up to 90 degrees nose down. That's the hardest manoeuvre, and initially it's probably the most difficult manoeuvre to learn as well.
The most difficult manoeuvre, well, believe it or not, it's not the backflip. That is actually relatively quite straightforward to do. For me personally, I think the 360 wing over we do, the aircraft is not cleared to loop, so I have set parameters I cannot exceed. Remaining within those parameters is possibly the hardest bit for me in my display.
Probably it's the backflip which is the one you've got to get right, because the other ones, if you're 5 degrees off here or there, then it's not necessarily noticeable from the ground. But with the backflip, it's got to be perfect, otherwise people notice it.
A difficult group which requires more concentration is the pairs, when myself and Sean go off doing our pair routine. And a close second behind that is actually in the diamond, especially in the right-hand turn when the rest of the formation appears as though it's on top of you. Those are the two bits that stand out in my mind.
It's almost time for the Blue Eagles to make their first public display of the season. Team manager Mark Curry makes his way to the commentary box.
Well, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name's Tim Calloway. I'm joined here in the commentary box by the team manager of the 1999 Army Air Corps helicopter display team, the Blue Eagles.
Hi Tim, good afternoon everybody. The guys are just going to form up on the runway. They'll then move out to a hold position, and in a couple of minutes they should be on the...
All right, coming straight towards us, ladies and gentlemen, the 1999 Army Air Corps helicopter display team, the Blue Eagles. Now, you're going to be taking us through the display. Mark, what's the first manoeuvre?
Okay, the first manoeuvre is what we call a crossover break. The Gazelles have just put on the smoke. The lights will come on in a second to say hello, and then carry out the first manoeuvre, which is a crossover break. Gazelles at around about 1 rotor spacing will just slam the cyclic across and cross over between each other.
Oh, close indeed. Now I'm starting to see what you're talking about. I haven't seen that, ladies and gentlemen. I want to explain. I haven't seen that crossover break done before with smoke on. You can see the Gazelles are split left and right. The Lynx going up to establishing the hover, top dead centre. The Gazelles moving towards the joiner.
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, if you keep your eye on the Lynx at the moment, in about 20 seconds or so, you should do something which is rather exciting. I can tell you that.
Just holding up in the hover there. What sort of height are they at the moment, Mark?
Lynx is at about 1,000 feet. There he goes, pulling the cyclic right back to form what we call a backflip.
Absolutely astounding. Now, how on earth does he do that? I mean, he turned the helicopter on the spot all the way over backwards. How did he do that?
Basically, it's not very difficult to do, to be completely honest with you. It's a case of just sitting there, pulling the cyclic back as far and as fast as you can, and the aircraft
produces that amount of thrust on the downforce on the rotor, just in pitch.
Yeah, Lynx, very, very, very powerful machine. It's an absolute joy to fly.
I can imagine.
Never run out of power.
So who's flying the Lynx this year?
It's W2 Bob Lois flying the Lynx. The team's actually led by one of the Gazelle pilots.
Do you know?
It was awarded for services in Northern Ireland.
So, and he's actually flying the lead Gazelle. And they form the box 4. Now, you were saying the Lynx crew is actually, it's a 2-crew aircraft this year. That's Bob Lois actually flying it. Who's in the other seat?
Okay, we've got another pilot in the left-hand seat. It's Staff Sergeant Jez Bainan. If you look out now, the 4 Gazelles are actually forming up into what we call the diamond, while the Lynx carries out his solo display. And there's another backflip as well, side on, just to show what actually cheating.
That really is quite remarkable. I've never seen it. First time I've ever seen it.
That's right, yeah. It's a standard manoeuvre we train pilots. It's basically a very, very quick way of turning the aircraft through 180 degrees. Maybe it would be used if you expose yourself to the enemy, as it were, and you need to get out of the way quickly.
270 degrees, as we just saw there. It's actually like an offset loop to me.
Yeah, again, it's using pitch and roll, and it's effectively the most you'll see in the world.
So they're actually only separated by 1 rotor diameter.
Absolutely. As they turn slightly belly onto the crowd, you can just see how close the aircraft are as well. Bearing in mind that the actual, obviously, the body of the aircraft, it's still got rotor blades outside of that, so that's extremely close indeed.
And considering that the rotor blades are actually moving in opposite directions.
Break off now and complete a pedal turn.
which is basically the equivalent of a stall turn for a fixed-wing aircraft. And all it's done is pitched to 90 degrees nose up, and then full right pedals applied, and then recovered with about full left pedal as well.
So very much a stall turn equivalent, but done using the torque of the rotor at the top of the manoeuvre?
Absolutely, yeah. The lead pair now will run in at Crown Centre. They'll perform what we call the double bunt.
Pitching up to the vertical then for the
yeah,
double
they'll pitch
bump?
up and pitch back down as well. One of the guys obviously has got his head tilted up 90 degrees at the moment to watch the other guy. It's not the easiest thing to do in the world, especially when you're pitching from 90 up to 90 down.
That must be incredibly disorientating.
They have their stopwatches going, and they've timed it to meet the other two gazelles, having done another pedal turn at Crown Centre to do an interlocking cross. Again, the closing speed here is about 240 knots, and the guys will be aiming to pass each other, again at one rotor spacing.
So straight down the middle, fingers extremely crossed, heading straight towards each other.
And that's nice, they've got it bang on Crown Centre.
Spot on. It appeared to hang up flying almost sideways. What happened there?
That's what we call a sliding turn. Again, it's a bit like a pedal turn, which you saw earlier, but we allow the aircraft to slide sideways through the sky. And the guys are now forming up for the final manoeuvre, the spread eagle.
And the spread eagle, of course, named for the badge of the Army Air Corps, is that correct?
That's right, Tim, yeah. We've got a smoke failure there, but not to worry.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, a magnificent display of rotary wing expertise as they perform the spread eagle, the 1999 Blue Eagles.
The display is over, and apart from the disappointing failure of the smoke from Eagle 4, Mark is pleased.
Yeah, it was okay. The commentary was... I was more nervous doing that than I was flying for the last 2 years, to be completely honest with you. But luckily Tim's helped me out there. He's a bit of a veteran of the circuit. But yeah, it's nice to get the first one out of the way safely.
How do you feel the boys did, all right?
Yeah, good. It was nice, yeah. Good display. Unfortunately, we had one smoke fail right at the end, which is a bit of a shame, but things happen. But it's nice and safe, that's the main thing. And that's the first one out of the way, and we can just look forward to the rest of the season.
Right, anything else? No. Right, over to the caravan. Relieved. Yeah, it did go right. It went better than I expected, actually. The only things that went wrong were mine, really, on the radio calls, because I was nervous, but I eventually got the right radio calls out, and the guys did the right thing, and we got a comment from air traffic coming back in that was a nice display, so I'm very pleased.
After a short debrief, the team make their way to the caravan to meet the public. But how do they feel the display went?
I felt it was all right. I think it could have been better. Obviously, the lack of smoke on the final pull-up was a big disappointment. I don't know what it looked like from the crowd point of view, but I imagine a fairly obvious gap in the display there.
I think it was a technical problem, yeah. When I pulled the lever, it came up and nothing actually happened, so I'm sure we'll fix that next time round.
Did you realise that the smoke hadn't come on?
No, I didn't, no, because I don't get a chance to look behind me. I just rely on what the other guys say, yeah, if your smoke's on or it's not on. So.
Well, for us as a Lynx crew, me and Jez, we were happy with what went on, really. It's very nerve-wracking. I mean, because it's all right being at Wallop, and all the aircrew there are hypercritical. I mean, they are the world's worst audience, because they're all like, you didn't do that right. But here we're displaying to the public, which is the important thing. We're promoting the Army. And it was nerve-wracking on the way in, but once we got into it and started, you know, don't worry about the public, just get on and do it. And like I said, for me and Jez, we had a good display. It seemed to go all right. And the guys on the ground in the crowd line said, yeah, it looked all right.
It wasn't too bad. On a technical sense, we can do better. But the main thing is that was the first display of the season. We've all been wetted, so to speak, now, so now it gets better.
No, it's fine actually. Just walked into a room, we've got an instant 8-year-old son.
Oh right, nice one.
You're going to be a helicopter pilot when you grow up then, Luke?
Yes. I think it's important for the people coming here to actually see the people that are flying the aeroplanes. I mean, I've never met a display pilot before, and now I am one. And it's quite nice to sort of perhaps a little bit of payback time and let them know that actually we're just very ordinary people, and that this sort of job, certainly in the Army, is achievable by anybody.
Stay there, don't move. You're right down there. Okay, mate. This is something I didn't expect. I've never been like a star before, and it's great with little kids. Kids come up and go, oh, sign this, mister, sign this. And I've got kids of my own, and it's great when they're enthusiastic about it, and yeah, it's good stuff. That's it, look down a bit. That's it, look up. Look down. A bit more. That's it.
Who's this to then? What's your name? Pardon?
Tommy.
Tommy. Is that with 2 M's or 1 M? 2 M's. Okay, there you go. Most of the other large teams, like the Red Arrows, they do their display. They have their caravan here. However, you never actually get to the pilots to come down to sign the posters. So for us, it's more of a hands-on, meet the crowd type of touch, and it can't do recruiting any harm whatsoever.
I think the main thing we can offer is we're different. We're different because we fly different aircraft. Most things here are fixed wing, obviously. We're the only rotary wing show, and I think we're different in so much as we can actually interact with the public a lot more as well. I think we're pretty much the only team who come and actually meet the public genuinely, talk to them, sign posters, etc. And I think, you know, they appreciate that, and maybe guys from here will go home and tell their friends, and we'll see more of them back down at, say, Southend and other shows in the south maybe. So it's been very positive, yeah. Yeah, very pleased.
After 24 displays in 4 countries, the Blue Eagles are about to perform for the public in Southport. This will be their final display of the season. This is the last time that the members of this season's team will fly together.
Training orange smoke. Team leader tells them to put the lights on, and the first maneuver, the crossover brake.
For the Blue Eagles, their 1999 display season has come to an end. But they'll be back next year with a new lineup and a new display, but with the same ability to thrill the crowds. Mark Curry, team manager, stayed with the team in the year 2000, taking over Eagle lead. Sean Wyatt is currently in the USA, where he's training on the Apache. Paul Price has now left the Army Air Corps and is working as a commercial pilot. Bob Lewis has remained at Middle Wallop as a training instructor, and Russ DeLue, Paz Norman and Jez Bainan have returned to regular duties within their regiments.
dive just to gain a bit of speed. You will roll rapidly left in a minute. Round about now. Now rolling. Now we stay at 90 knots. Pause, gentle roll to the right. Staying at about 100 feet. Look out to the right, looking for the other aircraft, got them. 320 is a roll out heading. And now we've all got to rejoin from this position, which works quite nicely. I just want to slow down a bit. There we go. That's about there. Right, roll to the right, not too rapidly, maintaining 90 knots, pointing straight at the leader, closing speed of about 200 miles an hour now. He rolls to the right. Now we go behind him. And there we are. Two or three are now behind me. Worked quite nicely.
Gentlemen approaching from your left, accelerating to 140 miles an hour, the Sharks helicopter display team. 4 Gazelle aircraft from 705 Naval Air Squadron, based at the Royal Naval Air Station, Culdrose, at Helston in Cornwall. Pulling to 60 degrees, nose up now. 90 degrees right angle bank, flipping the tail. The Sharks this year are led by Lieutenant Commander Paul Trudgington. Paul is a training officer at the 705 Squadron. Shark number 4 is led flown by Lieutenant Lloyd Watson. Lloyd is also the Sharks manager for the 1991 season. Lloyd is an avid golfer and spends much of his free time trying to improve his handicap. We believe his handicap is a set of golf clubs.
Seven Fire Squadron is here to provide basic helicopter flying training for all Royal Naval pilots who will eventually become frontline Royal Naval aviators. We take them from the basic fixed-wing flying that they've achieved in Yorkshire, give them all the basic training that is necessary for them to proceed to the more operational aircraft, which they then meet at the advanced stage. This takes about 21 weeks, and they do approximately 81 hours flying, covering all the elements of basic helicopter handling, some slightly more advanced exercises in navigation, formation, confined areas, expanding their capabilities and opening up their horizons such that when they can meet the new aircraft, they can tackle the intricacies that they will find in the front line. We have 19 aircraft available to us every day. That's Gazelle HT2, the Aerospatiale Gazelle. Of that, we have 14 required to be on the line. Because we have a contract maintenance here, at the moment it's contracted to Field Aviation, and they are contracted to provide those aircraft, 14 on the line every day out of the 19 that we have. The display element of the squadron is an important role, as you quite rightly say, from a public relations point of view, recruiting point of view, and we put a great emphasis on it and its success each year. It is a task we have. It's over and above our main training task, and it is basically achieved by pilots mostly giving up their own time, because the majority of the displays and the training for it are carried out either early in the morning before the main flying training starts, and the displays are generally at weekends, and we don't normally fly the students at weekends. So the staff who are chosen for the team each year are out of the normal complement of instructors. They generally will have been here at least a year before they join the team, and do their normal instruction during the week with the students, and then at weekends and early or late in the day do their training, all the displays as well. So it's if you like, an extramural activity for them. We don't have extra aircraft, we don't have extra people to achieve the team. It comes out of our complement.
I hope that it's an inspiration for the students. I hope that it's an inspiration for the staff as well. There is no myth behind you having to be a special pilot to be a display pilot. All the instructors on 705 are capable of being in the Sharks, and all the students who come through 705 will probably end up as instructors themselves. So it's very much an inspiration for all that if they want to, they can well become part of a display team. There is no mystique involved in it at all.
The season really starts way back in October of the previous year, where a new Sharks manager takes over and a team leader is designated. The team leader either has to be the senior pilot, the CO, or the training officer of 705 Squadron. And this year it's the training officer. If the CO wanted to do it, it would be him. The senior pilot did it the year before, so he didn't want to do it again, so it then fell to the training officer. And what happens is the squadron is asked for volunteers to fly in the Sharks, and usually you get about 6 or 7 names. A lot of people want to do it. The odd wife doesn't want the husband to do it. But out of all the people on the squadron, you generally get about 6 or 7 who volunteer. And what then happens is you fly with the previous year's Sharks in fly-offs, almost like a flying competition. And they sit down and discuss your potential merits with each other, and the team is chosen. And we did the fly-offs in November this year, and although I was asked to be manager and said yes, I also wanted to fly. So I had my fair shot at the fly-offs, just like everybody else did, and funny enough, chosen for the team. So for the first time, we've got a flying manager.
Initially, initially it was a 6-aircraft team, and they went away purely to military establishments, so they did perhaps 6 displays a year. And then the commercial or the civilian organisation, civilian displays, realised that there was some value from this, some good entertainment value, so they started to invite the Sharks along. As you say, it's been running for a few years now, 15 or 16 years, and it's become bigger each year. About 3 or 4 years ago, I think they did in the region of 50 displays, or now the number of displays we do has reduced merely because we don't have sufficient time to go away every weekend. We'd love to go away all the time for a 3-month or 4-month summer period to display. But realistically, because it is a secondary duty, we just don't have the time to do it.
I think I've got about 15 shows at the moment. There is room for more shows, however, we're limited on the number of hours we can do. Because we're in effect amateurs, and we do it in our own spare time, the the number of air shows we actually get to go to is not as many as perhaps we'd like. The other thing, of course, is we've got a job to do. We've got to teach students, and that is our primary aim. The Sharks is a secondary spin-off from that. And so long as the primary job is being done okay, then the Sharks have the time to go away and practice. But we must never forget that we're actually here to teach students primarily.
QNH today is 1022, Scillies is 1019 and 1017 for Wessex. ATC details, Cold Rose is on 0130, colour white, focus and white, all laser serviceable. And Prodanic is on 01. Number 1 diversion, St Morgan 31, blue AR-15 is on maintenance. Emergencies, flying pilot continues, co-pilot helps out, unless the aircraft captain decides otherwise. Over to you, sir.
Okay, fine. I'll see you then. Right. With D9, what we're going to do now is basically take the emergencies that you covered, particularly looking at auto-rotation, to its logical conclusion. We'll fail the engine and deal with it, okay? So all the stuff that you covered in D7 and the fan stops in D8 will apply. We'll start off, I'll do a datum auto, okay, and then I will do an engine off, so I'll get you to fly the auto-rotation. I will take over part way down and shut the engine down, okay? Get you to follow me through, and then we'll carry on circling round and you'll fly the engine offs, all right? So, judge the flare height. It'll be around about 80 to 100 feet. We'll start the flare today, okay? Don't flare it too much when we're trying to achieve about 10 or 15 knot ground speed, okay, to run on safely. We'll check at about 8 to 10 feet, okay, having held it in the flare, so hold it, check. As soon as you've checked, level, okay, and then keeping the skids level, just let the aircraft sink towards the ground. The rate at which the aircraft sinks, that's the rate at which you will bring in the lever to cushion the touchdown. So if it's going down fast, you need the lever fast. If it's going down slow, you only need the lever slow. Okay? Keep it straight with pedal. And remember, once you're on the ground, the cyclic doesn't move. Okay? Straightforward sortie. It is fun. All right? Engine offs are good fun. You will enjoy it, I promise. You will enjoy it. But at the same time, it is very important. This is the only aircraft you can have a chance to do this in. Okay? To actually take it to a real emergency, if you like, and fly through it and prove to yourself that you can. Right? It still does fly, it's still perfectly safe, okay? Right, that's what we're going to do. Have you got any questions?
No questions.
No? Okay, very complete. See you out at the aircraft.
Yes, sir.
Okay, the weather this morning, 1806, surface wind, although it's picking up a little bit already, and it's forecast to do so. 18015 is 1,000 feet. Reported cloud, 1 of Stratus at 1,000, 4 of Q at 1,800, and 6 of Strata Q at 3,000. The aircraft we've got, 38, 41, 52, 45, and the extra for the film, 57. Any questions?
Yes. Is that 1, 2, 3, 4 in the aircraft?
Yes.
Right, I thought you wanted mine.
Correct. You can.
All the aircraft are smoked, and there is a spare aircraft with smokes, so make sure that you do the checks before you actually get out there, and I should try to remember to call the smokes this time. The routine will be, as we've practiced up till now, with a slight change at the end. And I just have a look at the board to show you what I would like to do. Exactly up to the same until we get to tying the rope. So running in from opposing ends from the pairs line astern wing overs. Once we've tied the knot, then run out, and when I have achieved 90 knots, I will then call turning. And that's the cue for you and me to start a 30-degree back turn, these positions here, away from the crowd. Maintain that 30 degrees angle of bank, 90 knots, with the second aircraft still in line astern until we see each other, which is going to be about here. At that stage, I will make any dramatic alterations I think are necessary, and I want you to do the same. But the idea is, once we've rolled down to the bottom end of this corner, is that Jeff rolls from line astern into echelon port, and 4 and 3 do the same on 2. Right, problems I can see with this. The first one is, with the side wind, the whole lot gets shifted right off crowd centre, which is why we're going to practice it for the first time with a straight on and off crowd wind. Obviously there's going to be a problem with 4 and 3 rejoining, but as we are actually running towards the crowd, I don't think that's too much of a problem. The only offset we have, fore and aft, is going to be taken out while we're actually running in. The only problem we still have is if when we pull up for the pedal turn at the end, so it's flicking the rope towards the crowd, is how we'll end that manoeuvre, is that 4 and 3 haven't caught up, in which case you'll see the displacement in the pedal turn. But I think that's tough. But we'll practice and we'll just try it today. You just keep close to the crowd line. I'll be slightly further offset, so we can start rolling slightly earlier. All right. Anything else?
Just remember when you leave the top to go crazy. I can't keep up with you.
That's why I said 90 knots.
I still want to do a solos.
Lucky you, Bob.
So with this flicking a rope, we're just 180 out?
Yes, 180 out, flicking the rope.
It's not going to fan this at all?
No, we'll just keep it simple. If we find that we can afterwards, then fine. If we can fan out, like I expect we can at the end of the Cold Rose Air Day, for instance, then we will. But I think we've got to plan for the easiest option first, and then we can adjust it.
Flexibility there.
Yeah, adjust it for the particular display. Apart from the pull-up for the nose over, the maximum height is about 350 feet. Okay.
After having a look at Andy's going to say the same.
Yeah, I agree with him actually.
Well,
after having a look at the tape quite a few times, we thought that the way that I actually do that nose over looks slicker than all of us going, and a lot more coordinated than all of us going nose over.
Right.
So we gave a suggestion Malcolm could probably do the same.
Fine, yeah.
Nose and roll immediately?
Yeah.
No, I'm not happy
straight
with that.
into.
I don't see the wood for that nose over at all.
The wrong side of the aircraft?
Yeah.
That's fine.
That pause allows me to look across and find him. Otherwise I'd just turn into him.
Any suggestion then to make it look perhaps then later on that, because if you don't drop the lever across the car, this is a definite difference in the line, but you're going down a lot more than anybody else, a lot quicker. Perhaps you're just anticipating before you have. And that's
Maybe
on,
we're just doing it right.
That's on 2 of them. Well, okay, then. Easy to change one.
Yeah, sure. Okay.
Right, we'll go over the map and just where we're going to park. All right.
I suppose it was a bit of a mixed reaction, because I suppose there's the worry about the fact that they are, you know, particularly when they first get going, so close together, and I suppose when they first get going they don't quite know yet what they're doing, so it is a bit worrying, although obviously they reckon they're as safe as houses, and obviously that's why they practice as much as they do. But on the other hand, I was very pleased for him that he'd been asked to do this, and felt that you know, it was an opportunity not to be missed and all the rest of it, which is part of the reason that when he said that there was a chance he'd be in it again this year, that I thought, well, oh no, to some extent. But then on the other hand, I thought, well, we'll be going back to the Air Force soon enough, and it's quite likely he won't ever get the chance to do anything like this again. So we might as well make the most of it while it lasts.
My wife has reacted well, I think, really. It's the easy way to answer it. I got permission before I volunteered for it, even though Paul asked me to do it. It was the only sensible thing to do, because, of course, we are away a great deal. The other factor was that she's pregnant as well, in line with the rest of the Sharks team, I think. But she's pregnant, and of course that made a big difference. But she's very good. She understands service life. I was in the Air Force when we married, so she's known that I've been away and at home at odd times, and she accepts it as part of service life. So I'm very fortunate to have such a good wife.
Well, I'm actually in the Royal Australian Navy, and I am on exchange with the Royal Navy at the present time for a period of up to 3 years. I actually wanted to do the exchange, and I saw the Sharks as a perfect opportunity to broaden my horizons. So I was nominated myself as a volunteer, and now I'm in the team for this year.
Well, I was a bit shocked to begin with. We'd talked about it before, and I thought that he decided that he wouldn't be in it, so we planned to have another baby. And here I am pregnant, and Jeff says, I think I might go in it. And I thought, what? And but I got used to the idea, and I said that he could go in it if he could cope with an emotional wife.
You have to make the most of your opportunities, and I'm only here once in England. I have one shot at doing the Sharks, so she's very happy indeed to actually have me flying for the Sharks this year.
Every time he's late, I think he's dead.
Now formatting on me, and I'm defying the leader. Now we dive just to gain a bit of speed. You will roll rapidly left in a minute. Round about now. And rolling. Now we stay at 90 knots. Pause, gentle roll to the right. Staying at about 100 feet. Look out to the right, looking for the other aircraft, got them. 320 is a roll out heading. And now we've all got to rejoin from this position, which works quite nicely. I just want to stay down a bit. There we go. Just about there. Right, roll to the right, not too rapidly, maintaining 90 knots, pointing straight at the leader. Closing speed of about 200 miles an hour now. He rolls to the right. Now, we go behind him. now, yeah.
The aircraft that flies the Gazelle, that's the Aerospatiale Gazelle. It's a very, very nice machine. It's a little bit like a sports car in terms of the helicopter world.
The RAF don't have any equivalent at all. The Central Flying School used to have a solar display, but even that's stopped now. So the only helicopter display teams available are with the Navy, so it's, as I say, I've been extremely fortunate.
We're not that big really, we don't have many assets. I can't see that we would have something on similar scale as the Sharks. On a very casual basis, maybe something for a local air show, but certainly nothing on the same scale as the Sharks here.
brakes on a lot then, so I had to follow him. Right, next thing will be another national port, so we all slide across to the left now, so break over the line and stand. But again, this one's quite tricky because I'm going the slowest with the tightest radius of turns on the inside. Close, right, it's back there. What's going to happen, there's a nose over now, so we're going to point at the ground and roll to the left. So hold on to camera. There goes the ground, there goes the left. The plug of that one.
The thing is, they pick out aircraft they like. A pilot, when he's doing that kind of thing, throwing it around the sky, likes to get an aircraft that he feels right in. So they choose a group of aircraft, which we try to give them each time. If we give them something that they don't call theirs, it never feels the same to them. So it does get a little bit difficult to give them the same aircraft all the time. And the constant, can we practice again, can we practice again, gets a little bit heavy at times. We do say that after a Shark aircraft has been right through its season, it's never the same again, but that might be only an opinion.
So he's now going to start. So we're going to end up in line of stand after this one. There goes leader, 2, 3. 60 degrees nose up. Pedal it round the sky. There's 2. Now we follow 1. There we go.
CNT full stable within limits, central wiring panel clear. Compass is aligned and your response normal. Turn clear left. Okay, we're ready to run in then, stick wheels off, your channel's off, clock's ready to run, lights are on as required, smokes are set up. And running in then 500 feet towards the area, stand by, smoke on. Clock running. Diving down a long crowd line from crowd left. And pulling up. Wing over left. Back down, dive towards crowd centre. Pulling up into 270, wing over right. Away from crowd centre. Up. Into wing over left. Back down towards crowd centre. and then up into an allcock. Pulling up and round. Slightly displaced from crowd, up into wing over left. And as we come down, reducing speed, and round into a turn. For about 500 feet, and then 90 degrees nose down, roll left. Here we go, and pull away from crowd, up into pedal turn right with smoke. Stand by, smoke going on now, and up. Pause, in. Straight towards crown centre, up into a 360 spiral climb. Pulling up and turning. Coming up to 3 minutes 45 seconds. Nearing the end, into the hover over the crowd, centre line, and stand by, diving. And away. And there we are, we come back towards the crowd, we make a slow pass, and we wave, if it's appropriate.
Well, at least we did it at the same time.
Yeah, we did. We did actually, yes. This together. It was in formation, which is essentially what it took about, let's face it.
We should do that actually.
Are you bending it too much there? Maybe. As you look certainly the shadows and things like that, we're quite a long way away.
But again, that
doesn't make a difference by the...
That left me a little bit too close to you. If I get... It's a very fine line between getting underneath those two.
3, 2, 1.
0.5. This is you and going
this is leading to 2.
I must be too far away. It just looks as though I'm just too far away.
Okay. Just pulling up, turning. No, pulling down.
What was that?
I was in an angle back when we pulled up.
Pedal over go.
That's going to make the best of a bad job. Here I go again.
You're still 4-day camel ride.
Right, enough of that.
Yeah.
The only thing that I really thought consistently was going wrong is that we're not going back to the same place that we both start from. doesn't have to be crowd centre, but when we do the tying the knot, we both run out, so that's an equal distance, then we both start turning left. But if you then start judging your turn to change that circle, bring it back to crowd centre, A, I don't know you're doing it, and B, it puts us out of position.
Yeah. There's a side wind, a strong side wind.
Yeah,
I would make it.
With the crowd, imagine the whole formation moving down a bit. 3 and leader break out, and then a second later, 2 and 4 do a sort of a mini roulette by themselves and follow them out either side of the crowd. The only advantage of it is, well, the advantage of it is you get an extra formation change as opposed to that great big long line of stern thing. It's not going to save any time, but you get a formation followed by a big clattery break disappear.
4, 1, 2, 3. So you've still got the box and we've still got the flicking rope at the end. Just means that he's moving his full. It still keeps the original flicking the rope in, and we're still coming back to crowd centre, and we're getting another formation change in to keep the interest up.
Got the power, because you need 90 knots for the pull-ups and those for the No, I think that's quite workable actually. I think Jeff's idea.
Yeah,
I like that.
yeah, if you don't mind me.
It's just
No,
quite
not
simple.
at all,
As soon as he is passing and looking ahead, he just says, I have the lead, and then you just look at him float.
What about the fact that you might be slightly heavier than me? Do I have to sort of control my pull-up tones?
It's a tiny bit more, is it?
I don't think so.
Yeah,
I don't think so.
If I just go for a 60 degrees nose up.
Yes, let's try that. Let's try that. I like that. Right, I better speak to the captain, find out if he still wants to come with us. He might not want to come with us if it's not the final thing. Great, thanks guys.
To effectively reach a still air hover at about 500 feet. Once on the curve line, they drop 60 degrees nose down, turn through 90 degrees outwards impaired, accelerate to 100 knots and run parallel to the curve line before synchronised wing overs to the right. Diving, turning.
Manager for the Sharks, and before qualifying as a helicopter.
They run in for the hook rejoin. They change from Stingray, stagger slightly to line abreast, running towards crowd centre, increasing speed to about 135 miles an hour. They pull to 60 degrees nose up, climb 150 feet, and turn using the pedal to depart the display after 270 degree heading change. This manoeuvre is affectionately known as the feeding frenzy, and it's the final manoeuvre for the Sharks display this season. Smokes on, running towards the crowd, increasing speed, 135 miles an hour. Pulling to 60 degrees nose up, climbing 150 feet, turning 270 degrees to depart the display line. The feeding frenzy.
For 55 £4, we're going to please penny more filling. Any odd numbers? When you come back, season.
That's why I'm rolling out the timing. I'm trying to get away.
Single engine.
Any odd number, the wind and water.
Oh, sorry, Did anybody do it?
55 £4.
No, Bill! Stand there and Bill. I say cheers to the next. Cheers to the next. Louder. Thank you.